he left, he also realized that he'd forgotten to put a fly on his ark, so he had to turn around and go back and get a fly. I know it's poking fun at religion. Another section is called the intelligence of God. He made all things. There's not in the universe a thing great or small which he did not make, and he pronounced his work good. The work covers the whole of it. It puts the seal of approval on everything. And then he talks about a fly. I'll just finish this sentence. He says the fly is one of the most hated creatures of God's creation there is. People are always swatting it and killing it, and nobody ever stops to say, this is a creation of God, we should honor it. We disapprove of that fly. I'm going to stop there. And do I get another 2 minutes? Read Letters for the Earth. It's at Barnes & Noble. And the last comment I'd make is that keep an open mind. If you believe in God, fine. But don't criticize, don't be too harsh on people who don't. We have a right to be wrong. Thank you.
It is interesting that whenever you do the debates on creation versus evolution, you get into a discussion with someone on creation versus evolution, it leads to the underlying question, and that is, why are we here? Why are we here? This is not a science issue. This is not a science debate. It's a debate on which model most benefits society. So why are we here? You might agree with the composer John Cage, who said, no why, just here. You might turn to that great philosopher of science, Leonard Nimoy. Dr. Spock, who said, I find the question, why are we here, typically human. I'd suggest, are we here would be the more logical choice. Or you might agree with former paleontologist and leading evolutionist Stephen Jay Gould, who said, we are here because one odd group of fishes had a peculiar fin anatomy that could transform into legs for terrestrial creatures. We may yearn for a higher answer, but none exists. Robert is right that in the name of religion, there have been atrocities committed. In the name of Christianity, you and I would agree that there have been atrocities that have been committed. It is not a question of, is religion going to be taught? The question is, which religion? Whose religion? Because everybody is religious. Everybody believes in something. Even the person who believes in nothing believes in something because he believes in nothing. Everybody is religious. And he brought up a valid question, and that is, there is pain, there is suffering, there is war, there is bitterness, anger, strife, disease. Life sometimes is a pain in the neck, isn't it? Well, let's turn to a great philosopher king who struggled with this very issue. He seemed to reach, at the first blush, the conclusion that everything is worthless. Nothing is worthwhile, he said. Everything is futile. What does a man get for all his hard work? This was the wisest man on record who said, I have greater wisdom and knowledge than anyone. I worked hard to be wise instead of foolish. But the more my wisdom, the more my grief. To increase knowledge only increases distress. He therefore went on to try other philosophies, such as hedonism. It's the don't worry, be happy syndrome. Let's just seek pleasure. He found this too was futile. For it is silly to be laughing all the time. What good does it do? He sponsored great public works projects. He built great edifices. He sponsored the arts. He was a patron of the arts, choirs. He said, I became greater than any of the kings in Jerusalem before me. Anything I wanted I took and did not restrain myself from any joy. I even found great pleasure and hard work. And yet he discovered that he who dies with the most toys, well, just as the fool will die, so will I. I turned in despair from hard work. What does a man get for all his hard work? Days full of sorrow and grief and restless bitter nights. It is all utterly ridiculous because he still dies. In fact, he concluded that the dead were better off than the living. And most fortunate of all are those who have never been born. They never see all the crime and the evil. Aren't you glad you came this evening? So what is the point of life? Well, let's turn to that great catechism. And that is, what is the chief end of man? To glorify God and enjoy Him forever. Why? For everything comes from God alone. Everything lives by His power, and everything is for His glory. The wise king's conclusion was this: don't let the excitement of being young cause you to forget about your Creator. Here is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey His commandments, for this is the entire duty of man. For God will judge us for everything we do, including every hidden thing, good or bad. You see, life has a point because of the Creator. If you have not considered that this evening, perhaps it is time to decide. It is time to consider